Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Janmashtami Paramahamsa Buddhika Church Ashtottara Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Janmashtami Paramahamsa Buddhika Church Ashtottara Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindi Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Glorious Appearance Day of Lord Krishna Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 30th day of August 2021 in San Diego, a glorious appearance day of Lord Krishna, Sri Janmashtami. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, we're reading from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 4, verse 34, which quotes Srimad Bhagavatam 10:33-36. We'll read Srila Prabhupada's purport here also, of course. Anugrahaya Bhaktanam Manusham Dehamashitaha Bhajate Tadrishi Krida Yashutva Tatparo Bhavet Anugrahaya Bhaktanam Manusham Dehamashitaha Bhajate Tadrishi Krida Yashutva Tatparo Bhavet Anugrahaya Bhaktanam Manusham Dehamashitaha Bhajate Tadrishi Krida Yashutva Tatparo Bhavet Anugrahaya Bhaktanam Manusham Dehamashitaha Bhajate Tadrishi Krida Yashutva Tatparo Bhavet Anugrahaya Bhaktanam Manusham Dehamashitaha Bhajate Tadrishi Krida Yashutva Tatparo Bhavet Anugrahaya Bhaktanam Manusham Dehamashitaha Bhajate Tadrishi Krida Yashutva Tatparo Bhavet Anugrahaya Bhaktanam Manusham Dehamashitaha Bhajate Tadrishi Krida Yashutva Tatparo Anugrahaya, for showing favor, Bhaktanam, to the devotees, Manusham, human-like, Deham, body, Ashitaha, accepting, Bhajate, he enjoys, Tadrishi, such, Kridaha, pastimes, Yaha, which, Shrutva, having heard, Tatparaha, fully intent upon him, Bhavet, one must become. Translation. Krishna manifests his eternal human-like form and performs his pastimes to show mercy to the devotees. Having heard such pastimes, one should engage in service to him. Srila Prabhupada's purport. This text is from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:33-36. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has innumerable expansions of his transcendental form who eternally exist in the spiritual world. This material world is only a perverted reflection of the spiritual world where everything is manifested without inebriety. There, everything is in its original existence, free from the domination of time. Time cannot deteriorate or interfere with the conditions in the spiritual world, where different manifestations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are the recipients of the worship of different living entities in their constitutional spiritual positions. In the spiritual world, all existence is unadulterated goodness. The goodness found in the material world is contaminated by the modes of passion and ignorance. The saying that the human form of life is the best position for devotional service has its special significance because only in this form can a living entity revive his eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The human form is considered the highest state in the cycle of the species of life in the material world. If one takes advantage of this highest kind of material form, one can regain his position of devotional service to the Lord. Okay. I'll read a couple more paragraphs. Incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead appear in all the species of life, although this is inconceivable to the human brain. The Lord's pastimes are differentiated according to the appreciating capacity of the different types of bodies of the living entities. The Supreme Lord bestows the most merciful benediction upon human society when He appears in His human form. It is then that humanity gets the opportunity to engage in different kinds of eternal service to the Lord. Special natural appreciation of the descriptions of a particular pastimes of Godhead indicates the constitutional position of a living entity. Adoration, that's the Shantaras, servitorship, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love are the 5 primary relationships with Krishna. The highest perfectional stage of the conjugal relationship, enriched by many sentiments, gives the maximum relishable mellow to the devotees. The Lord appears in different incarnations, as a fish, a tortoise, and a boar, as Parashuram, Lord Ram, Buddha, and so on, to reciprocate the different appreciations of living entities in different stages of evolution. The conjugal relationship of amorous love, called Parakiya Ras, is the unparalleled perfection of love exhibited by Lord Krishna and His devotees. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. The first verse? Yeah. That verse is Adi Lila 4:34. So the reason I picked this verse is that this gives a complementary or a broader understanding of why and how Krishna appears at this time in this place on the earth 5,000 years ago. And what I'm going to read now is the run-up to this verse that we read here. This is in chapter 4 of the Adi Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, which gives the internal reasons for Lord Chaitanya's appearance. And there's a preliminary section of this chapter in which Krishna's Kaviraj is giving us an insight into Krishna's own contemplation before he appears in this world. Because they go together, Krishna's appearance and then Lord Chaitanya's later appearance. As you may know, only once in a day of Brahma, which is 8,640,000,000. That's just the 12 hours. No, I'm sorry, that's 24 hours. 8,640,000,000 years does Krishna appear as he is in his wonderful, all-attractive two-handed form playing the flute in Vrindavan. And in that same Kali Yuga that follows Krishna's appearance, Lord Chaitanya appears. So, how fortunate are we? Practically 3 seconds ago, Krishna appeared. 1 second ago, Lord Chaitanya appeared, comparatively speaking. Here we are, sitting here. So we're very, very fortunate, and we should take that good fortune and perfect our lives in this lifetime by developing pure love for Krishna. So now I'm going to read an earlier part that leads up to this verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Lord Krishna's Kaviraj is explaining why Krishna appears as he is, what his own internal meditation is. So this is, I'm just going to read the English here. This is text 7 of the same chapter, Adi Lila chapter 4. The scriptures proclaim that Lord Krishna previously descended to take away the burden of the earth. Now this is the Yada Yadahi Dharmasya, which I'm also going to read in the Bhagavad Gita, very famous. To take away this burden, however, is not the work of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The maintainer, Lord Vishnu, is the one who protects the universe. But the time to lift the burden of the world mixed with the time for Lord Krishna's incarnation during the previous Dwapara Yuga of this particular Chatur Yuga, the one we're in now. That time became simultaneous. When the complete Supreme Personality of Godhead descends, all other incarnations of the Lord meet together with him. In other words, Krishna, they're all present in him in a subtle form. Lord Narayan, the 4 primary expansions, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Niruddha, Matsya Avatar, that's the fish, and other Leela incarnations, the Yuga avatars, and the Manvantara incarnations, and as many other incarnations as there are, all descend in the body of Lord Krishna. In this way, the complete Supreme Godhead, Lord Krishna himself, appears. At that time, therefore, Lord Vishnu is present in the body of Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna kills the demons through him. Prabhupada explained that even in Vrindavan, when Krishna is killing the demons, it's the Vishnu who is killing them through him. Krishna's business is just, enjoying the rasas with the gopis, with his friends, with his parents, with those who are in the mood of servitude in Goloka Vrindavan. So that's when he appears. He also brings a replica of Goloka right there in Boma Vrindavan. So that's why Vrindavan is so important as a place of pilgrimage. Thus, the killing of the demons is but secondary work. I shall now speak of the main reason for the Lord's incarnation. The Lord's desire to appear was born from two reasons. The Lord wanted to taste the sweet essence of the mellows of love of God, and he wanted to propagate devotional service in the world on the platform of spontaneous attraction. Thus he is known as supremely jubilant and as the most merciful of all. This word here, Rasika Shekara. Shekhar is a crown, and Rasika, those who are skilled at tasting the sweetness of the different mellows of loving exchange with Krishna. So Krishna also is a Rasika. He's the supreme Rasika. He's tasting the mellows of the devotee's love for him in all different varieties. And that's what especially moves him. That, and of course, through his other incarnations, the relieving of the burden of the earth and killing the demons, that's also important. But the ultimate pleasure of Krishna is in this. So these are the two reasons. He wanted to taste the sweet essence of mellows with all his devotees in the material world also. So Lord Krishna thought. So now we get an insight into what Krishna himself is thinking before he appears. All the universe is filled with the conception of my majesty, but love weakened by that sense of majesty doesn't satisfy me. If one regards me as the Supreme Lord and himself as a subordinate, I do not become subservient to his love, nor can it control me. So this is standard worshiping Krishna as Supreme God. Please protect me. I'll be like that. In whatever transcendental mellow my devotee worships me, I reciprocate with him. That is my natural behavior. Now he quotes a Bhagavad Gita verse. Some of you may know this verse. Balaram knows the verse, but he's a little distracted now, so I'm going to time out. Okay, so he's got to go. Ye yata mam prapadyante tamstataiva bhajamyaham mama vartmana vartanye manushak partha sarvashaha. That's quoted here. In whatever way my devotees surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Prita. If one cherishes pure loving devotion to me, thinking of me as his son, his friend, or his beloved, regarding himself as great and considering me as his equal or inferior, I become subordinate to him. So this is so delightful pastimes that we read of Krishna being chased by his mother and utterly caught. He's crying, this is Supreme Personality of Godhead crying, and then she binds him up. But only after, much trouble, right? She takes all of this rope and it's too short. And finally, he sees how frustrated she's getting. The hair is falling from her, the garland or the flowers falling from her hair, and he agrees to be bound. So this is the Ajita Jita. This is as Lord Brahma says in his prayers, those who simply give up all this speculative activity trying to figure out what the Supreme is and simply hear about you from the great devotees, they become purified to the degree that they can conquer you by their love. They can develop pure love. Krishna only agrees to be conquered by love. Otherwise you can see the fate of all the demons who try to conquer him by force. That doesn't work. So this is Krishna's revealing his mind now. Devotional service rendered to me, now this is a quote from the Bhagavatam in the 82nd chapter. Devotional service rendered to me by the living beings revives their eternal life. All my dear damsels of Braj. He's speaking to the gopis at Kurukshetra here, where they met in a solar eclipse. All my dear damsels of Braj, your affection for me is your good fortune, for it is the only means by which you have obtained my favor. Mother sometimes binds me as her son. She nourishes and protects me, thinking me utterly helpless. My friends climb on my shoulders in pure friendship, saying, "What kind of a big man are you? You and I are equal." If my beloved consort reproaches me in a sulky mood, that steals my mind from the reverent hymns of the Vedas. See? Taking these pure devotees with me, I shall descend and sport in various wonderful ways unknown even in Vaikuntha. I shall broadcast such pastimes by which even I am amazed. The influence of Yogamaya will inspire the gopis with the sentiment that I am their paramour. So Yogamaya, this is just an important part of philosophy. Yogamaya and Mahamaya are one. Mahamaya is an expansion of Yogamaya. So Yogamaya, she facilitates all of the intimate pastimes in the spiritual world. And she covers, first in Mother Yashoda, the famous pastime where Krishna was said to have eaten earth. Balaram and the boys accused Krishna of eating earth. So Mother Yashoda came, she was very concerned. This is not unknown. Every mother is worried that her child playing in the garden, in the yard, is going to eat some earth. So if one of the older boys says, "Oh, he just ate some earth," "Oh, terrible, let me see." So she wanted to see, improve. Krishna denied it. He said, "Balaram's lying about me. He's upset with me and he's lying." So now we have a crisis. So Mother Yashoda insists that Krishna open his mouth so you can see if there's any earth in there. So he opens his mouth and she sees not only Earth, but she sees Mars and all the other planets, and she sees the whole universe. And earth, water, fire, ether, she sees everything. She even sees herself sitting there looking at Krishna's mouth. So what happens then? Do you remember? Who can say? What was Mother Yashoda's reaction? Yeah, she's saying, "Oh, and I thought this boy was my son, the son of Nanda. And here I was dealing with him just as my own boy, you know." So what did Krishna do? Yogamaya. He covered her again with Yogamaya, so she would forget that and again think of him as a little helpless boy, because that's what he wants more than anything else. He wants the love. He wants the unconditioned love, and no one has as much love for Krishna as Mother Yashoda. It's just a little different variety as the gopis. She's a gopi. She's an elder gopi. So then she forgot all that, and she says, "Okay, don't do it again." Whatever, you know, like. So this is the influence of Yogamaya will inspire the gopis with the sentiment that I am their paramour. Now what's interesting, that's very interesting here, neither the gopis nor I shall notice this. Krishna also wants to forget. He doesn't want to think, "Oh, I'm God, and I'm just playing like this." He wants to forget that he's God so that he can enjoy this pure rasa. So Yogamaya does that service also. Neither the gopis nor I shall notice this, for our minds will always be entranced by one another's beauty and qualities. Pure attachment will unite us even at the expense of moral and religious duties. So dancing with young girls in the middle of the night, you know, people say that's immoral. I once had some fellow come at the airport. I was picking up my luggage, you know, at one of those carousels, and he saw I was dressed as a devotee. He says, "How can you worship a God who's immoral? You know, beating other men's wives in the middle of the night." You know, like I just had to laugh. You know, what are you going to say to someone like that? You know, I said, "Okay, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna." But that's what people say. It's hidden. But yeah. So you know, so that was the realization of how bewildering Krishna's internal pastimes are. You know, and so. This is even at the expense of more religious duties. Destiny will sometimes bring us together and sometimes separate us. I shall taste the essence of all these rasas, and in this way I shall favor all the devotees. So the point is, Krishna is enjoying by himself, but he's also enjoying giving the devotees opportunities to taste with him. This is, you know, this is what Krishna's greatest enjoyment is. He's known as Rasika Shekhar, Raso Vai Saha. There's a verse right in the Upanishad, the little phrase. He himself is personified rasa. And rasam hyevayam lubvanandi bhavati. And when we revive our ability to taste that rasa, we also become anandis. Ananda is the bliss. Anandi is someone who's in bliss all the time. So we were by nature, we are anandis. But now, in our conditioned state, we're not anandis yet. But we're moving in that direction. Then, here's the key. Then by hearing about the pure love of the residents of Braja, devotees will worship me on the path of spontaneous love, abandoning all rituals of religiosity and fruitive activity. So that hearing can go on anytime, like right now. And this is one of the aspects of Janmashtami, to appreciate Krishna's mercy of appearing in this most attractive, all-enchanting form, human-like form, and giving us a chance, as this verse says. And these pastimes will be written about in books like Bhagavatam, and all the writings of the Goswamis which follow the Bhagavatam. The Gopal Champu, for instance, is a wonderful book. It's described in the later chapters of this Chaitanya Charitamrita as the most formidable literature. And it expands the pastimes of Krishna. I won't go into detail now, but the pastime of where Krishna pulled down the trees after Mother Yashoda bound them up, you know. And then Nanda Maharaj comes, and it was a disaster, huge cracking sound, you know. And immediately they think, where are the boys? Where's Krishna? You know, and so they run to the spot, and there's Krishna within the branches, the trees. The demigods had already come, Manigriva and Nalakuvara. They were all purified, offered their prayers, went back to the heavenly planets, they were pure devotees. And all that was left was Krishna with the little, the rope around his belly, bound into the mortar, and the other boys, all around Krishna. So what happened? And so the boys were described. Well, Mother Yashoda bound Krishna up. No, they didn't say that. They just said that Krishna pulled the mortar between the two trees, and they came down, and then these two angels came out and said something to Krishna, and they went back. So they couldn't believe that, these young boys. So it was very serious. Anyone could have been hurt. Krishna could have been hurt. Balaram, the boys, would have been a disaster. Somehow, by grace of the gods, Krishna was saved. Right? They don't know. Krishna's God. So Nanda said, who did this? And Krishna said, Mother did it. She bound me up. So Nanda was very upset with Mother Yashoda. And she had heard what happened, and she was mortified that Krishna was in such danger. She was hiding in the house, lamenting. She was horribly. So that was the situation. You don't read about that in the Bhagavatam. And so what happened? So Nanda Maharaj was angry with Mother Yashoda. So Krishna picked up on that. And he said, I'm not, so then they said, are you going to want to go see your mother? No, I'm not going to see her anymore. Because Nanda was angry with her. Then what about drinking the breast milk and everything? No, I'm just going to drink the cow's milk from now on. And who you play with? I'll play with you, Father. Like that. So Nanda Maharaj saw the danger of this, that he was becoming estranged from Mother Yashoda. She was mortified. So he was, what can I do? So he said, I'm going to take this stick and beat her. And so Krishna saw, no, he'd gone overboard. So he immediately ran to his mother, went on her lap, and hugged her. Now all that is Jiva Goswami's realization, expanding the Leela. It all makes sense, right? But the details aren't there. And all the writings, the whole Gopal Champu's like that, and other writings of the devotees, they expand on the Leela. So that's why hearing about the pure love, and that hearing, we can fill our whole day with that. And then the verse that we read here. So this is the internal reason, and this is the special benediction of appearing now in this Kali Yuga, so that we can get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, so that we as the most fallen can take up devotional service and rise up to the highest levels of bhakti, of hearing about Krishna, the spontaneous devotion, ragatmika bhakti, which is gotten through raganuga. So that's a whole other subject. We won't get into detail. But basically it's built on hearing, these pastimes. Hearing and remembering, sharing with each other, glorifying Krishna, and gradually discovering our original rasa with Krishna. That's spoken of even at the beginning of Bhagavatam, where it's described in the second chapter, first canto. Many of you know these verses, Savai Pungsang Paro Dharma. What is real Dharma? That which evokes pure devotion, which is unmotivated and uninterrupted. How to achieve that? Ultimately through hearing from pure devotee, and that by hearing in that way, Krishna in the heart cleanses all the impurities. Until finally, Vidyate Vidya Grantis Chidyante Sava Sangsaya Chiyante Jasikamani Drishta Eva Atmanishware. all the knots in the heart, all the material desires are wiped away, destroyed. And all one's doubts are eliminated. How can there be any doubts? Because you're seeing Krishna, you're experiencing his presence everywhere. And all the karma is completely eradicated, and one sees oneself as one's master in the heart. One sees Krishna in the heart at all times, and you see yourself in your original form, your original spiritual form. You discover, you understand who you are ultimately. So that's one very important aspect, the most important aspect, as said in here, of Krishna's appearance, his motive for appearing and what it means. Now I'm going to speak a little bit about the traditional, which is completely bona fide, of course, and the way, the understanding of why and how Krishna appears, as we find in the Bhagavad Gita. This we should also understand. As explained at the beginning of the 10th canto, when the world was overburdened by too many demons, Mother Bhumi became very sad and upset. And she approached the demigods, the other demigods for relief. They went to Brahma, and Brahma took the whole procession to the shore of the ocean of milk on Dhruvaloka, the Vaikuntha planet that's in this material world. And there he meditated. This is the way Brahma communicates with Vishnu. Shiradaksha Vishnu is there, lying on the ocean of milk. And he received a message transmission. This is Prabhupada's words from the Krishna book. And that is, don't worry, I'm going to appear very soon. You see? And all you demigods should also appear in the different Yadu dynasty, and you also come down to help me. And so Bhumi was very encouraged. So this is what we hear in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 7. Everyone knows this verse, right? Yada yada hi dharmasila glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam srajamyaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharat, and a predominant rise of a religion, at that time I descend myself. Now this is describing Krishna in general when he appears. This also applies to Matsya Avatar and Lord Ramachandra, of course, the Leela avatars. When you study their life, they all came in order to save Dharma. I mean, Matsya was saving the Vedas themselves on the boat, with Satyaraja Muni. And of course, Ramchandra annihilated Ravana, who was, the big burden on the earth, and the demons. And you'll study all of the different avatars. Lord Bora lifted up the earth. How can there be any Dharma when the earth is, submerged? So they're all reviving Dharma. And therefore, Krishna says, at that time I descend, whenever and wherever. Not just at this point, 5,000 years ago. But here he appears, and we read it from the CC, all the different avatars are within him. So yes, Krishna killed the demons, but he did it with his Vishnu expansion. Krishna's own business is dancing with the gopis, enjoying in Vrindavan. So then, the next verse, very well known, maybe some of you know it. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sangstapanataya sambhavam yuge yuge. To deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. So this is very encouraging. Krishna appears to protect, to deliver the devotees who are always being beset by the demons, the irreligious, and to reestablish Dharma. So why is Krishna so concerned with Dharma? Because Dharma is what differentiates human beings from animals. We've come up through the animal species, and we still have a lot of those tendencies, right? Aharan hindra bhayamaita nangsha samanyamaita pashapi naranam. That the animals and we share this eating, sleeping, mating, defending tendency. We all have that. And so what's the difference? Dharma hitesham adhiko vishesho dharma nihina pashapi samana. That the difference is that human beings can practice Dharma. Without Dharma, it's just animal life. We're living here amongst the billions of animals because no one is following Dharma, which is defined in the Bhagavatam as that which generates pure devotional service to Krishna. If whatever they're following doesn't increase your desire, this is also right in that section, your desire to hear about Krishna It's all simply Shrama Eva Hi Kevalam. Who can say what that means? You know. Shrama Eva Hi Kevalam? Waste of time and energy. Shrama means hard work for no result. Shrama Eva Hi Kevalam. The only result is the hard work itself. It's a form of madness. I once heard about, when I was a kid, about how the Greeks gave the example of a mad person. You see someone out in the ocean, right here by the beach. So they're on the beach, right, in the waves, you know, and they're beating those waves with a big iron rod, beating the waves. What can you possibly get from that, except a sore shoulder or whatever? So that's what people are doing. They're working very hard, building this, building that. You know, this war, that war, going to school, all this stuff. If it's not increasing your attraction for Krishna, it's Shrama Eva Hi Kevalam. Bhagavatam doesn't mince words. It's completely radical, you know. Now, it may be some activity that can make you more receptive to Krishna's message. And that, in that sense, it's good, only if you come in contact with a devotee who can give you a book or actually, you know, attract you to Krishna. But that's secondary, you know. So Krishna's reestablished the principle of religion, dharma, real dharma. And you see, Krishna was dharma and gyan personified. That's that famous verse. What is it? Krishne swadhamo pagade dharma gyana nibisaha kalon nashta dushamesha puranako dunodita. Should all know this verse by now, at least recognize it, because every time Bhajana Ryan Maharaj gives a class, he chants this verse. So this verse says that when Krishna returned to Goloka, he only stays for 125 years, and then he goes, you know, to another universe, but he's not here anymore. And taking with him Dharma and Jnana. He was Dharma and Jnana personified. This Bhagavad Gita is Jnana, you know, the perfect Jnana. He's speaking, Krishna speaking. Bhagavatam also. It's Vyasadeva is Krishna, and he appears personally in 11th canto and throughout the Bhagavad. So he's taken that with him. Wherever he was, he established Dharma and he established Jnana. But now he's gone. But the Bhagavatam has risen, just like the sun, to provide these things, to provide this benighted Kali Yuga population with unassailable, sure guidance in Dharma through teachings of Jnana, of the great devotees in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is, now the next verse, which was the one that I thought Narantraprabhu was going to read after he read these previous two, but he didn't, is that the benefit for simply hearing and studying Krishna's pastimes and, you know, his knowledge in the Gita. I'll say, you say, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tatpataha chakva deham punarjanma naitimam iti sorjana. Okay, let's see. We have a little time here. I'm going to read some of this, at least part of this purport. Srila Prabhupada says, the Lord's descent from his transcendental abode is already explained in the 6th verse. That is Jopi son of Vyatma. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, I still appear in my original form by my own energy. In other words, by Krishna's own sweet will he appears. We don't. We're forced to appear again and again in different bodies because of our karma. For these purposes we just read. One who can understand the truth of the appearance of the personality of Godhead is already liberated from material bondage. So the word tattvata is in the verse. One who knows in truth the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities. So not some sentimental understanding. Oh, I know Krishna appeared and he danced with the gopis, you know, like that. The Krishna bicycle shop, there's probably 12 million of them in India, you know. In other words, you have to know it in truth. And for that, we have to approach someone who knows. We have to follow the process to understand the real significance of these things. So, one who can understand in truth the appearance of the Lord is already liberated from material bondage, and therefore he returns to the kingdom of God immediately after quitting this present material body. So this day, Janmashtami, is a perfect day for us to really hear and study how and why Krishna appears. Because if we know in truth, we're going back to Godhead. It's a wonderful verse. Prabhupada quoted this verse probably only second to Sarvadharma Parityajaya in terms of frequency. Such liberation of the living entity from material bondage is not at all easy. The impersonalists and yogis attain liberation only after much trouble and many, many births. Even then, the liberation they achieve, merging into the impersonal Brahmajyoti, is only partial, and there is the risk of returning to this material world. And eventually, they all do. But the devotee, simply by understanding the transcendental nature of the body and activities of the Lord, attains the abode of the Lord after ending this body and does not return, does not run the risk of returning to this material world. Okay, so that's a good portion of this. So this is one of the great parts about Janmashtami, because all day, you know, if you're fasting, or even if you can't fast completely, as much as possible, but you're doing services, you're anticipating that wonderful, you know, midnight artik when Krishna will be dressed. Maybe they'll have the flower outfit, but always something special. And it's just your mind is filled just by nature. If you're a devotee, an active devotee, of Krishna's appearance. And you can read about it. The Krishna book has a wonderful chapter on the appearance, describing the idyllic atmosphere. You know, and it's so moving, because when you hear how you know, Krishna appeared in Mathura to Vasudeva and Devaki in a dungeon. They were great devotees from previous lives, and they were qualified to be his parents. And so, so the whole story there, and we have a few minutes here. So Devaki, it starts out, Devaki is just married to Vasudeva, you know, one of his 12 queens. And Kamsa Prabhupada is described as a brother. And it's right in the Sanskrit. She's described as a sister. You've seen it. So this indicates the nature of Vedic culture, that you have this extended family. In actuality, we would say they're cousins. Kamsa's father was Ugrasen. Devaki's father was Devaka. Devaka and Ugrasen were brothers. So therefore, they're cousins. But they're always called, you know, brother and sister. Probably, you know. So you find this phrase, cousin brothers. Like all the Dhritarashtra's sons were cousin brothers of the Pandavas, because Pandu was the brother of Dhritarashtra. So they're actually cousins. And even then, there's an odd twist to it, that Pandu was not actually the biological father of any of the Pandavas. He died. I won't get into the details of that prematurely. And Kunti, she had this power, if you recall, because she had served the Vasamuni so well. And so he gave her this power. You can call any of the demigods. So she's a young girl, and she tried it out, and the sun god appears in her room. There's a painting. It's like this. Whoa, you know. And so he said, yes, and because I've appeared, then there has to be an issue. In other words, we have to have, you know, you have to have a son by me. So, no, I'm just a virgin. And she said, don't worry, you know, we'll take care of that. You'll still be a virgin. Anyway, so Karna was born. But it's like Moses, you know. Didn't they put him in a boat on the river? So she couldn't really, you know, reveal that she had a son, so she secretly took him out and put him in a boat and put him on the river. And he went down a little ways, and then Radheya, there was a simple Sudra, I forget what he was a woodworker or something. He picked him out, you know, and raised him. But he was born with armor on, you know, like a Kshatriya. He became even a better fighter than Arjuna. Anyway, that's a whole story. But then when Kunti was married to Pandu, I won't get into the detail, but he couldn't have sex, you know, otherwise he would die. So they wanted to have children. So she would call Indra, and then Arjuna was born, and Yudhishthira, Yamaraj, and Yudhishthira was born, and the wind god, and Bhima was born, and then Madri was the co-wife, and she was given that power too, and she called the Ashwini Kumaras, and the two twins were born. So how is Arjuna the real cousin? He's not the real cousin of the Dhritarashtra, but because they were known as the sons of Pandu, they were seen as cousin brothers. Anyway, this is one of the intricacies. So what happened was that there was this burden on the earth, and then so Krishna appears and excuse me, Devaki and Vasudeva were married, and Kamsa, even though he's a demon, he had some affection for his cousin sister, and so he gets on the chariot and he's driving the chariot to the home of Vasudeva. That's the tradition. But there's intervention. An omen says, "You fool, Kamsa! Don't you know that the 8th child of this woman will kill you?" So Kamsa freaks out, and he's ready to chop off her head. Where is there any, affection for my sister? So Vasudeva is quick thinking, and he says, wait. This will go very, very bad for your reputation. Here's this poor girl. You're not in danger from her, and you shouldn't, And then he explains wonderful about transmigration, science. You want to hear about the science of transmigration here, and karma. So he desists, obviously. And they go home, and things go on. But the real clincher was that Vasudeva said, look, every child, and he was known to always keep his word. Any child that's born from from our union, I'll give to you for your, whatever you want to do. So the first son is born. They're all sons. And he dutifully brings to Kamsa. But Kamsa is a little soft-hearted. He says, I'm not in danger from this child, don't worry. Take him back. But then his ministers, his demoniac minister says, no. Any of the children could be. We've heard that the demigods are taking birth in the different dynasties there. You better, So Kamsa says, oh, you're right, So he kills the child. 6, turns out they're his children from a previous birth. He's killing his own. Is that twist? But anyway, it goes on like that. Finally, the 7th pregnancy happens, and but that's not Krishna. That's Balaram. And so Balaram has a special, he has 2 mothers. And so Balaram was saved by being drawn to the womb of Rohini, who was taking shelter. One of Vasudeva's wives was taking shelter in Vrindavan, in Nanda's place, Vrindavan. So he appears from Rohini, and he's known as the son of Rohini, and the son of Vasudeva. So he's known as a Kshatriya. And it was thought, she had a miscarriage. All right, that's the 7th. Then the 8th child comes. And he appears with 4 hands, and he's fully dressed as Vishnu, but a baby. Yeah, it's a baby. It's right in the Bhagavatam and in the Krishna book. So, and it wasn't exactly from the womb, it was from the heart of Devaki. Devaki was so effulgent, the demigods come in secret form, and they offer prayers. That's all going on. Well, a lot of, And finally, he appears, and they offer prayers, and then they're worried, because there's this 2 things, he's a baby, but he's also Vishnu, but now they're thinking, he's a baby, Kamsa's going to come and kill him like the other ones, they forget that he's Vishnu. So become an ordinary child, maybe that'll say. So he does that, but then Vasudeva breaks his promise. He wants to take Krishna to Vrindavan to save him. And so the shackles come open automatically. It's all this miracle, and he walks across the river. It's raining, but Anantadeva is shading him. And finally, Yashoda just gave birth, but the labor, she doesn't know it's a boy or a girl. So he takes this girl and places it with Krishna. Now you can imagine, here he's breaking his word, and what happened to the other children? They were all killed. But he says, I have to protect his son. So now he has this baby girl. Kamsa comes, he hears, then the shackles get back on, and everything, and it looked like before. And then the baby's crying, all the guards come in, they yell, the 8th child is born. Kamsa comes in, grabs the child, and tries to dash him on the stone, her on the stone, But she flies out. It's Mahamaya personified. He can't kill Durga. She starts berating him. You fool! Don't you know that the 8th child is born somewhere else? You're going to kill you, And so then he's very contrite, and he says, "Oh, I'm sorry." But he assumed that the 8th child was a son. He said, "Oh, it's a baby girl." Oh, even the omens lie, But it's not a. So he says, and he apologized to Vasudeva and Devaki, and he releases them. Please forgive me for my atrocities, Prabhupada says. And it goes on like that. So he releases them, but then his demonic ministers say, no, we've heard that all the children who have just been born in the last 10 days should be killed. We'll send out your demoniac minions.
and will kill them. And so they go around, and we read about Putana and all the demons that Krishna kills. They're all on a mission to kill the babies. So Krishna kills them all through Vasudeva, the Vasudeva expansion, as we said. So this is how the 10th canto goes. And at the same time, in between killing the demons, he's cultivating his rasa, with Nanda and Yashoda, and then with his friends, and then with, of course, the gopis. And that's what that's what Krishna's doing. This twofold thing is going on because he's on the earth, or the demons are there, and he's killing them. So this is what we can all be reminded of today, as Krishna's wonderful early pastimes, his birth, and how he's inviting us. I wrote one poem about that. This is, many of you have seen this painting where Krishna and Balaram are running into the forest. They've gone into the forest, and now they're free of the watchful eyes of the elders, and the gopis are all back home. And so they start running on the bank of the Yamuna, and the cows are there, and the boys are behind them. Have you seen that wonderful painting? So that's what this poem is a meditation on. "Let's go," said Krishna, "don't delay at all." And he and Balaram began to run ahead of all their coward friends who called, "Oh Krishna, Rama, let us join the fun." And off they ran to Braja's forest haunts, to play in every bower, grove, and sward. That's a meadow. The boys would tease their friend with playful taunts, forgetting his position as the Lord. Shri Krishna is inviting us as well to join him in his pastimes, which enthrall. The wise heed Krishna when they hear him tell, "Let's go, my friends, do not delay at all." So we don't want to postpone our return back to Godhead. We want to go back in this lifetime, and so we should use every moment, especially on a day like today, to hear and chant, engage in all kinds of services to facilitate a wonderful celebration of Krishna's Janmashtami. So any questions or comments? We will be greeting the deities at 8:30. They're going to open the curtains, I assume, on time. And so maybe someone could make sure that I did cue up the song, so that's there. But just be prepared. Yes?
Thank you. This isn't an essential question, so if you want to answer other things or recite
why don't you
more
kick
poem,
it off?
But the question is, in this purport, Prabhupada says how the greatest benediction or most merciful benediction for human society is when Krishna appears in the human form. And then elsewhere in the purport it says how Krishna's mercy, then he appears to perform different pastimes in each species to be merciful to all the different living entities. But then when I look at least the main avatars that we know of, like when Krishna appears as Matsya, it's not really
for the benefit of the fish.
Doesn't really, when he appears as Matsya, it's for the benefit of the humans. When he appears as Kurma, benefit of the humans. Nrsinga, benefit of the humans. And you don't hear a lot about Nrsingadev going and impressing all the lions and giving them some kind of, like they go back to Godhead, or the sea turtles or anything like that, which I guess you could presume would happen. Any of the fish in the sea that see Matsya,
You don't know what's
sure
happening there among the fish community.
Yeah. And
one thing that is described that I think in this chapter, it's inconceivable. I mean, really, is there a moth incarnation? And what about all the other insects? Oh, we must have a mosquito incarnation. I don't know how that works. I think there's something about that in Briha Bhagavatamrita, which I can find for you. We can try to research that. But I always thought that's just one of these things that I do not understand how that's going on. But there it says that's part of our philosophy that he's doing it, and how it works I don't know. But we should take advantage of the human incarnation where we can actually hear. That's why it said the human birth is so fortunate. So that's why it said the human form is so fortunate. We have the opportunity, the brain, to actually hear these things and understand them. Bob, did you have something? Yeah. Okay, hold on. Mike. Wait a minute. Okay, go ahead. Is it on?
Check.
Not really. All right, just yell. I'll repeat it.
You said that after Bhagavatam was written, various sages expanded.
Yeah.
Now, where did this
not speculation, not dreams. These various sages are like Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Narottam Das Thakur. There's an incredibly large quantity of literature that has been written by our acharyas and is still being written. Expanding on, you'll see the Satsandarbhas are really a whole commentary on the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam is the source of our pramana, of what we believe and what we understand, what we accept as guidance for our lives. And so Jiva Goswami took that as unquestionable evidence, and then he, with his insight and meditation, he expanded on that. And so that's the source of it. Like, Rupa Goswami, we read about how Krishna is crawling in Vrindavan, and he's enlivening his mother like that. So he'll write a verse, a meditation on this, Krishna's pleasing him. Kwanata kanaka kinkani kalapam smitamukam vudranasika gramuktam kadatatanamani tapindamagre tanayamabeshananandananda patni. Now you can see just aesthetically how beautiful the Sanskrit is, just hearing it. And what he's saying there is that as Krishna's crawling toward his mother, he's got these beautiful tinkling golden waist bells and a beautiful effulgent pearl affixed to his nose. That's all he's wearing. And he's carrying in one hand a ball of fresh butter. And he's smiling. Smita mukham, with a gentle smile without the teeth showing. And he's approaching his mother. And his mother, she's Nananda Patni. Nananda means he's bringing great bliss to the wife of Nanda Maharaj in this way. So that expands on when the Bhagavatam, simply saying Krishna was delighting his mother, with his childhood pastimes. So this is what we get through their wonderful knowledge and their ability to see these pastimes. These are not speculations. Through their meditation. The whole play, Vidagdha Madhava, expands on the conjugal relationship in so many details and, churns up the ocean of nectar. Lord Chaitanya loved to hear it. And now, I don't want to be late. And are we going to open on time on there? 8:30? Okay. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.